Welcome back to Vuln Vibes. In this episode, we are going to talk about SonicOS vulnerability. So today, we are immediately pivoting into what I call an operational imperative. SonicWall PSIT recently dropped an advisory on a critical flaw, and network defenders running their hardware really need to pay attention. This is not theoretical. We're talking about a flaw in the network anchor, the SSL VPN service, that can take the whole appliance offline.
That's right. The key identifier everyone needs to have on their radar is CVE-2025-40601. And it's high severity for a reason. It's all about accessibility.
Remote, right.
Remote and critically completely unauthenticated. No session, no credentials needed. An attacker just needs to be able to reach the appliance from the internet.
Okay, let's unpack the mechanism here for our audience, because the how really informs the what now. We're dealing with a stack-based buffer overflow.
A classic, a really classic vulnerability.
And it's always a bit surprising to see these in modern high-end security gear.
It is. And what's disturbing is where it is. In the SSL VPN service, when you have a Bucker overflow in a public-facing daemon like that, your mind immediately goes to one place.
Remote code execution.
Exactly. Even though SonicWall's advisory is focused squarely on the denial of service impact, the fundamental flaw means an attacker is corrupting memory.
Right. Any of us who run static analysis, you see a stack overflow on network input, you immediately flag it for RCE potential. So the best case scenario for us, the defenders, is that the exploit is messy and just crashes the process.
And that's the proven achievable outcome here. A remote, unauthenticated attacker can trigger this memory corruption and cause the entire firewall appliance to just halt, crash and reboot.
So let's talk about that. Why is this such an urgent issue if the worst outcome is only a denial of service? I mean, we usually prioritize RCEs and data exfil over availability bugs.
Because the perimeter anchor going down is a catastrophic failure. It's so much more than losing VPN access for a few minutes. The firewall is your policy enforcer. It's your DPI engine. It's your logging gateway. When that box crashes from an unauthenticated DoS, you don't just lose VPN. You lose all stateful inspection.
So all that traffic that was being scrutinized just flows through or gets blocked.
Either way, it's bad. It's either uninspected or it's a complete production outage. And if you're in a regulated field, that loss of logging, even for a few minutes, is a compliance failure right there.
That puts the severity in a much sharper focus. It's a cascading failure. You lose availability, and that compromises confidentiality and integrity because the tools that enforce them are offline. So what's the threat intel situation? Are we seeing this in the wild?
Well, here's the one bit of good news. SonicWall PSIT says they are not currently aware of active exploitation.
Okay.
And there are no public proof of concepts floating around. Yet.
Yet is the key word there. That gives us a window.
A very small window between disclosure and weaponization.
Okay, so let's get operational. The scope. Which appliances are we talking about here? Who needs to be scrambling right now?
The list is expensive. It covers both their Gen 7 and Gen 8 platforms, so hardware and virtual appliances.
So pretty much everything recent.
Yeah, if you're running a TZ, NSA, NSSP, or NSV series device on SonicOS 7 or 8, you should assume you're vulnerable.
We're talking everything from, the small branch Office TZ270s all the way up to the big data center NSP 1feet700s.
And the virtual ones, too. The NSV appliances and AWS, Azure, on-prem, they're all in scope.
Right. The list is too long to read out, but the takeaway is clear. If you run modern SonicWall gear, you need to check the advisory.
Absolutely. And that leads directly to the patching strategy. SonicWall has provided the fixed versions.
What are the numbers people need to look for?
For any of the affected Gen 7 firewalls, that's both hardware and the NSV virtuals, you need to get to version 7.3.17032, or higher, of course.
Okay, 7.3.17013 for Gen 7 and Gen 8.
For the Gen 8 firewalls, the minimum safe version is 8.0.38011.
8.0.38011. This is an optional maintenance. This is a critical remediation.
Exactly. It's also worth a quick mention of what's not affected. The older Gen 6 firewalls are safe, and the dedicated SMA 100 and the 1000 series SSL VPN products are also fine. These are different architecture.
So the focus is squarely on Gen 7 and Gen 8 firewalls using the built-in SSL VPN.
Correct.
Now let's be realistic. Enterprise patch cycles can be slow. High availability clusters, change control windows. What if an admin can't patch tonight? What are the temporary mitigations?
There are really two paths. The first is the most direct. Just disable the SonicWall SSL VPN service entirely.
Okay, blunt, but it removes the attack surface.
Completely. But obviously that has a huge impact on remote users.
Then the second option.
The second is to use ACLs, Modify your firewall rules to restrict access to the SSL VPN port exclusively to trusted sources.
I have to challenge that one a bit. The idea of a trusted source IP range feels dated. I mean, with the distributed workforce, what does that even mean? A contractor at a coffee shop?
That is a very, very valid critique. And you're right, in a zero-trust world, relying on static ACLs is weak. The guidance should probably be interpreted as if you can't disable it, you lock it down to, say, your corporate HQ's static IP and nothing else. Force users through there.
So it's a trade-off.
It's a huge trade-off. You either sacrifice accessibility for security, or you accept a massive risk if your definition of trusted is too broad. Patching is the only real answer.
This is where we need to connect the dots. This CVE doesn't exist in a vacuum. If we look at the broader landscape for SonicWall, a pattern emerges.
It really does. This isn't an isolated incident. And it's important to see that continuous pressure. I mean, almost at the same time as this patch, SonicWall also fixed 2 other extremely serious vulnerabilities in their email security appliances.
And these weren't just DoS bugs, these were much worse.
Much worse. We're talking CVE-2025-40601, which is a persistent arbitrary code execution vulnerability.
RCE. Game over.
Total compromise. And then CVE 2025-40601, which allows for restricted information disclosure. So you're fighting a multi-front war here.
Yeah.
A DoS on your firewall and RCE on your email gateway.
And if we look back over the last year or so, the context gets even darker. This isn't just about simple coding mistakes.
Not at all.
There was that confirmation that a state-sponsored hacking group was behind the breach that exposed customer firewall configuration backups.
Which is basically handing an APP the blueprint to your network.
Right. Then there were the widespread attacks, compromising SSL VPN accounts with stolen credentials. Not even a 0-day, just credential stuffing against a high-value target.
And maybe the most chilling one, the firmware update needed to remove the overstep rootkit that was deployed against the SMA 100 series devices.
A rootkit on your security appliance.
When you see APT-level tooling like that, you have to realize you're not just dealing with a patching problem, it's a supply chain crisis.
So you put it all together, Stack Overflow, RCEs, data theft by state actors, credential compromise, rootkits. The picture is relentless.
It is. And the implication for defenders is that you have to stop treating your security appliances as these monolithic, trusted black boxes.
They're just another server on the network, a very, very privileged server.
Exactly. And you need to apply zero-trust principles to the security appliances themselves. Segment them, monitor them, restrict access to them. If your firewall can be remotely craft or host a rootkit, it cannot be the sole anchor of your trust model.
That is a major shift in thinking, from perimeter reliance to perimeter skepticism. So circling back to the immediate fire, the call to action for CVE 2025-40601 remains critical. If you're running Gen 7, get to 7.3.17001 or higher. For Gen 8, the target is 8.0.38011 or higher. And if you absolutely cannot patch right now, you must segment and restrict access, or just turn the service off. Don't leave that SSL VPN port open to the world.
The challenge now isn't just patching what we know is broken. It's about building resilience against the constant discovery of new flaws in our most critical infrastructure. So I'll leave our listeners with a question to think about. Considering this constant stream of critical flaws targeting security appliances, buffer overflows, rootkits, the works, what immediate non-firmware hardening steps should be mandatory across all of your high availability security gear, regardless of the vendor, to manage this supply chain risk?
A tough question, but a necessary one. Think about that paradigm shift as you're scheduling your change windows. Staying ahead means rethinking where you place your trust. Stay safe out there, and thanks for diving deep with us.